Yeah, I think that was a pretty good introduction, Chris. Thank you very much. No, Joe in the back here, when I found out he was doing this event, BitBrum, I just had to absolutely come to this. I love Birmingham. I've been to Birmingham a couple times before. I used to live in London, actually, and I really do love Birmingham. Like the Christmas festival, did any of you go to the Christmas festival last night? Any of you? No? Oh, it's amazing. Well, if you haven't gone to the Christmas festival yet, you absolutely have to go to the Christmas festival. It's so beautiful. So, yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, by the time I was 15, I had about earlier than that, when I was about 12 years old, I got this scholarship check from my grandmother. And then she said, you need to put this into a college savings account. And my brother was supposed to help me with that. But then my brother, he said, don't put it in your college savings account. Put it into this thing called Bitcoin, because both of us were really into it. And like he was, I think my family was a bunch of little political rebels. So since I was like 5, 6 years old, I was always going to all these protests and that, and then Bitcoin was a big part of that, and I was like tear gassed when I was 11, and maybe that's why I need my glasses. I don't know, maybe my eyes are all messed up, but yeah, so I was always a part of all these little protests, and we were really into all these alternative currencies, and one of those was Liberty Dollar, or Liberty Coins at the time, and that guy, he wanted to start his own currency, thought the US dollar was bad, had, U.S. really screws up their economy in so many ways. So many politicians do. And Liberty Dollars was supposed to be the solution to that. And I'm pretty sure it had like Ron Paul in the face of a gold coin or something like that. And he was actually put in jail for that, or he was prosecuted for that. I don't know what exactly ended up with him, but it was pretty bad. Like they really were trying to put him in jail for life. And then Bitcoin, when we saw that, that's why we saw it so early. We thought of it as maybe a good potential investment, but we really saw it at the technology level and just kind of the world impact level before many people did. And I think that's how we really got into it, because Bitcoin, I mean, it's people, like back in the 1800s, you used to be able to create your own currency, and just like today, it was only as credible as the person that issued it or the people that backed it. And that was just in the late 1800s, and then the U.S. kind of banned that. And I think that had something to do with the Civil War. And so it was banned for a long time. That's what's beautiful about blockchain technology, and I'm surprised that the state really hasn't banned it sooner. So that's why we really got interested in it, and we were really into Bitcoin. So my brother, he said, don't put it into your college fund, which my parents didn't know about. He said, put it into Bitcoin, and then he taught me how to buy and trade, and I lost a little bit of money at first, but then I eventually got the hang of it, and I always kind of just was able to kind of make some predictions and all that, and by the time I was 15, I had about $100,000. So in between then, I was just a normal student. I went to high school, which I absolutely hated. I grew up on a llama farm in the middle of nowhere in the United States. We had over 50 llamas, and they were pretty fun. But you could ride a llama, kind of like you could a camel. And then, so it was pretty interesting. So I was a part of this kind of Hickville school, if you will, and I was always doing these side projects, all these great things, and one of them actually turned out to be my business, and that business was an education business. So my teachers, I absolutely had these miserable, awful teachers, and I had some good teachers too, so I'll be nice about them. They were great. But these teachers, one of them, for the full hour of class, roasted me, like canceled class for the day, for the full hour instead, just like did stand-up comedy roasting me, which I guess maybe is funny looking back, but maybe not so fun at the time. And then I had another teacher, he was like, he was classic American, and that's both a good thing and a bad thing. He was always, instead of math class, he would show us his hunting photos instead of math. And he was like, yeah, I got this great deer, it's huge. And then he would show us his fishing photos. And granted, they were impressive. He got like a human-sized fish. But it was pretty terrible. And then but he didn't teach. He was always talking about guns, God, and glory, which is fine, but maybe not for math class. And he was the football coach as well, if that gives you a visual. So I think that is Jesus Christ. Speaking of God, we'll just do that. So this was kind of my experience, and I absolutely hated school in so many ways. So I decided to drop out and work in my business absolutely full-time, which was an education business to fix the problems in education. I wonder where I got that idea, because like I said, my teachers at school, Hickville, there was like holes in the walls from just people punching each other. It was terrible, and maybe not the best environment for me. So I decided to drop out, and I was about end of 14, early 15 years old. And my parents, they were a little bit scared at the idea, but my parents, I like to joke, or people call my family the Elon Musk version of the Kardashians. And they call me very modest. And I think that's, my parents are both Stanford PhDs, my brother's both MIT PhD, Johns Hopkins Masters and all that, and then they went through academia. So I dropped out of school, which was quite a little bit different. But one night my parents they did my homework, and they were Stanford PhDs. My father has written massive, world-renowned papers and all that. And then he did my English homework one night, where normally I got C's, and then he got an F. And I think that was a Stanford PhD got an F. And I think that was an eye-opener for all of us. So I think I decided to drop out of school, and I worked on my business. That started making money, and that was incredible. Like I posted to Reddit, told that I was doing this thing, said my story, and then I went to the top of Reddit, got all these articles. It was really cool. I got to meet Charlie Rose on his show, and I was just 15. And then about a little bit after that, I had about $100,000 in Bitcoin in total. So I decided to sell some of that, invest that into my business, and then I moved to San Francisco on my own at 15, which again, my family was not very happy about. But it was, so I was 15 alone, and I was living on Sand Hill Road, which was nice, and then, classic Sand Hill, venture capitalist road. So I did that, and that was absolutely incredible experience. I got into Stanford Startup Accelerator, StartX, which was for my business. And then after that, I spent a year in the Bay Area. And the Bay Area San Francisco is a little bit different than Birmingham, to say the least. And both in very good and both in very bad ways, in the sense that you have, tech center of the world, Silicon Valley, it's amazing. And then I think these days, I saw this person, and she called herself a furry. And then I talked to her, and I thought she was just joking or was here for a festival. And then no, she had a dog with her, and she had her hair dyed to be the same color of the dog, had ears, and had a tail going through her pants, and then said that was her partner, her dog. So I think that was, and I think there was recently just a street market, which is very different than the one in Birmingham here, and it was like a BDSM street market where you had all this crazy stuff happening in the streets. So I think sometimes I like Silicon Valley, and sometimes I'm very happy to be here in Birmingham with you. So I think it's San Francisco is a little bit of a crazy experience. So that's when I said San Francisco is getting a little bit too crazy for me, a little bit too weird, and that's part. I think any of you seen the show Silicon Valley? Any of you? So it's a show that's like kind of mock Silicon Valley, but it's all based on true stories. Like there shows one where instead of a car, instead of normally you might hit a deer with your car, they hit a Boston Dynamics robot walking by. And I think that is Silicon Valley in a lot of ways. So I think I moved to London after that, worked at a education company, and a VC firm out of here. So I was able to do that. And I remember there was this top-notch VC guy, I've been friends with him still, absolutely smart. And this was when Bitcoin was at its lowest in a long, long, long time. And then it peaked at about 1,300 about a year and a half before this, and it was about 200 something now. So it was really going down. People said, end of Bitcoin, this is it, no more. And then all these VC people, they're making fun of me for being a part of Bitcoin and getting really into it. And I told them, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, you got to. And I also said, and I'm pretty apolitical, but I said that this was one of his first week of announcing. I told him Trump was going to win too. So I said, Bitcoin's going to go big, Trump is going to win, and in one of his first weeks in running, when he announced. And then, so they all said I was absolutely bananas and absolutely crazy. And then I told them to invest in a Bitcoin company, and they ended up doing that, and it failed for a long time, so I looked very bad for a second. And then when Bitcoin shot up, they shot up as well. So I think they said I got a nice apology from all of them. I think in both November 8th and then as of recently with Bitcoin shooting up, 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 and up, and I made them a lot of money with their company. So I think that was very cool. So yeah, so I absolutely love the Bitcoin space. I think it absolutely has this potential for tons of political change, and I think you guys know that more than anyone. And I think most people, they think of it as a store of value and an investment tool. And I think that's what's so beautiful about us right now is you can make a lot of money, and it's also this powerful, powerful tool for improvement and powerful tool for change. And that's why I decided when I got an offer to someone to buy my company, I took it in Bitcoin rather than fiat. And I think fiat is absolutely done. I think the US dollar is absolutely going to go down. US and China are already selling it off. The US is going to default on its loans of 20-something trillion dollars, and that will tank the dollar. And then I think, and when the dollar tanks, I think Bitcoin's going to go up to a price you've never seen before, because that's the real practicality of Bitcoin. Is it's not an investment tool. It is I think there was a quote I saw on Twitter, and it actually might be from one of you here. I don't know. And I think they said the real use case of Bitcoin has never really been seen, because its real use case is mainly going to be in a recession. And I think that's, and the only recession that Bitcoin has been around in is the one that has been created in. And that was an excellent tweet that I saw. So I think that is where it's going to be. And what's actually amazing, and is why there's so much money in ICOs, and why there's so much money in Bitcoin and coins and altcoins and all that, is that fiat currency is this $100 trillion industry, if you will. And I think that's you can run a currency almost in a way that you can run it like a business. And I think that's, like, for example, in the past, you need to not just have a way to accept money, but a way to create a business model for that. And now the business model is just running the currency as the business. And I think that's absolutely incredible. And what does that mean? You can do so many incredible things with that. And I think there's these hospitals that they contacted me because they just know me as the Bitcoin guy. And they contacted me, and then they said, what can we do? We want to not just use blockchain technology, but we want to actually use this as a currency. And we found out that they could actually subsidize a lot of their costs. Like, they could sell their healthcare services at a much cheaper price if they used a coin, because they have so many patients that would raise the value of the coin. And you can do a lot of interesting things at the technology level to make that actually really sustainable. So running a currency as a business is absolutely incredible. And you can have this you can have it, like, normally to start a company and to start a startup, you need to have someone technical, you need to have a marketing person, a business person, all that. And now that can all be completely decentralized with a coin. So you can you can be the technical person, put this open source code out there, and then integrate this coin into it, and then just let it go. And let's say some marketing person can look at that open source code and then take it and completely transform it from, like, halfway across the world, market this. And, like, for example, there was this, oh man, what was it called? It was this weird thing, and it was so cool. It was only something you could do in the blockchain. It was like Reddit marries email, marries Twitter. And that sounds like the worst idea ever, but it was actually really cool. And it was just this open source code, and then a designer, kind of made it beautiful from halfway across the world, and this marketing person went and took with it halfway across the world. And none of them knew each other. None of them met each other. They just found these things online, and then they were able to make money because of the coin integrated into it. So they were able to get a lot of this coin at next to nothing. And then each of them were a part of this process all across the world, never met each other. And now that's, oh man, I hate that I don't remember the name of it, but it's actually pretty big now, relatively, just in the space. So I think that's what's so cool about this space, and that's what's absolutely really interesting, and that's what absolutely you can make a ridiculous amount of money on, just because, and I like money, I think we all like a little bit of money here, but I think it's a ridiculous amount of money because you're absolutely breaking down a $100-something trillion industry of fiat currency, and each of you can own a piece of that pie in a lot of ways. And some that might be used for cash, some that might be the economy of your company, an economy of a town, or a country, or a hospital, a collection of hospitals and all that. And that's what's so beautiful about that. So I really appreciate you guys having me here today. I love Birmingham in so many ways, and I love going to these Bitcoin conferences because it's really, really incredible here. Because I think a lot of us here, we get it, and I think a lot of the people, they're starting to get it in the world, and I think that presents us a tremendous, tremendous opportunity. So thank you very much.
All righty then. Does anyone have a quick question for Erik?
I've got a question, absolutely.
Anyone have a quick question for Erik? This man right here.
Was it you that offered, I might be wrong, but was it you that offered Jamie Dimon out?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So Jamie Dimon, I think you guys all know him, I think, right? You guys know Jamie Dimon, is that correct? So, yeah, he's a wanker, and I think that's that British spirit right there that I love. Absolutely. So he's a bugger and a wanker. And then, he is absolutely one of the biggest scumbags. And I know a lot of Wall Street people, and they're jumping over to our side, thankfully, and leaving that hellhole. And I know a lot of people that actually know Jamie Dimon, and one of them was in the room a day after. So for context here, so Jamie Dimon, absolute scumbag. He criticizes Bitcoin all the time, and it seems every time he criticizes Bitcoin, a week later it goes up. And I challenged him after he made these libelous comments about Bitcoin to a $100,000 Puerto Rico charity boxing match. And I said, Jamie, I'll pay $100,000 to a Puerto Rico charity if you'll fight me in the ring. And that went everywhere. It was, Jamie Dimon's name was worldwide trending on Twitter, and I was the #1 tweet for that at the very, very top. And it got like thousands of likes, thousands of retweets. I did all these interviews on it. I did an interview on Forbes about it, an interview on all these publications, Bitcoin.com, a lot of the Bitcoin sites, and that went everywhere. And I know I have a friend that knows Jamie Dimon, and maybe he's not, I might have to sever him off as a friend just because I don't want to have a mutual friend, Jamie Dimon. So I think he said that he heard about it, and so far I've heard nothing back. So all I can take from that is that he absolutely hates the Puerto Rican people, because I am willing to help him and help the Puerto Rico people with a $100,000 donation to charity. But, Jamie's just an absolute loser like that. And I think there's actually, I've seen a lot of people after I made that tweet, there's been a lot of compelling evidence that some of my Wall Street people that I know and met through this, of people that he's done a lot of really sketchy things, and I think he should be in jail in a lot of ways, just to the stuff that he's done, and a lot of what the Wall Street people have done. So I think he'll day of reckoning will come, in the sense that Bitcoin will either take him over, and if not Bitcoin, he'll be thrown in jail maybe before then. So, any other questions?
We have one right over here.
On that topic, has he not got a blockchain thing going on in the background as well?
Yes.
So yeah, I think he's interested in the blockchain technology, but I think he wants to co-opt the blockchain technology and use it for Wall Street's gain, which, I think that can be fine. I really don't see how you can, I think he's going to shoot himself in the foot with that a little bit. But I think it's great if he's doing a blockchain thing. But yeah, after he made those comments, you see JP Morgan allowed people to create buy orders for cryptocurrency and all that. So it could be in his advantage in many ways to be trashing Bitcoin to buy into it.
How do you see the actual future for ICOs? Because it traditionally started as a decentralized way of raising money, same as when you had venture capital. Well, same as when you had a startup. They would usually go to a venture capital firm, same as Silicon Valley, the TV series. They usually want a big whale to buy them in for the first stake, and then they make a product and they market it. So it's the same type of things that are happening at the moment, from moving from a decentralized, I want to kickstart a startup. So basically the concept of Kickstarter applied for the blockchain community or the Bitcoin community. They're now moving to, well, I'm going to go to a VC or I'm going to go to an investment fund or to the big guys on Wall Street and get them to fund me and then basically market this product. It seems like it has moved from a decentralized type of approach, which was very good, very encouraging for the blockchain community, back into the old ways, where you kind of rely on Wall Street and you kind of rely on the money holders that have caused the financial crisis in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a lot of, and I want to make sure I'm understanding your question correctly, so just tell. Where do you see it going? Where do I see it going? I mean, I think ICOs are an incredible tool to, I don't like security ICOs too much. I think that's just the same, like you said, I think it should just be, I think that's a fine approach, but I think that's already really well done in VC and in Wall Street and stock investing. So I think kind of actual ICOs of owning part of the economy is really well. And I think, with investment, you're owning a part of the company, and you can, make money, but you're owning part of the economy with the coin. And I think that's almost gives you maybe a little bit more power than even owning part of the company. So I think ICOs are absolutely amazing. I don't like security ICOs because I think might as well just do equity at that point, and you fit with in the legal frameworks and all that. So I think ICOs are an incredible future, but just like the stock market when it first came out, that there was a lot of crazy stuff happening. And in the 90s, there was a lot of crazy stuff happening, and it eventually sorted itself out. And I think that's what's going to happen with ICOs. So I don't like security ICOs, but I think ICOs are the future. I think ICOs are an incredible tool. And again, you're not just pulling money in from the investment community of angel investors, of people that would maybe be day traders and all that, but you're pulling just from people converting out of fiat. So there's like two kind of big markets there that you can pull into for money. And I really like ICOs, but I'm not a huge fan of security ICOs.
Okay, one more question and then we'll save the rest for the panel discussion.
What do you see as the number one threat to either stop or slow down Bitcoin in the future?
I think it's going to be state regulation, in my opinion. I think I'm just really actually surprised that the U.S. hasn't shut it down already, because they've shut down. People have been trying to do currencies forever in the U.S., and they've always been shut down. And the only time is with blockchain, you can't really shut it down. So I'm really surprised that they haven't done that. So I think the state is probably just going to be the biggest one, in my opinion. And and there's a lot of people that are trying to steal the brand of Bitcoin with these forks. And some forks I like, some I don't. But a lot of them are trying to steal the brand of Bitcoin and put it to something that's maybe not so good and something that's in control. Or something to take control of. So I think that's worrying, but I'd say state regulation is the biggest one in my opinion. And some regulation can be good, but I think it's, I don't know if I trust politicians to do it right.
Hashtag Finman wisdom right there. So
there you go.
Erik.
Thank
Round
you,
of
Chris.
applause for Erik. Come on now.
Awesome.